Welcome into Inside the Arc. I am Alec Bussey. We've got Illini basketball starting in less than a week, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend Brandon Simberg. Brandon, how are you doing? Basketball season's less than a week away. I know you're just itching for tip-off.
Yeah, I've watched way more exhibition basketball the past week or so than I'm proud to admit, but very excited. It was great to be back in State Farm Center the other night for the home opener, or for the, second home exhibition game. And just being back there, it gives you that feeling that the season's right around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, it's what? Friday night, Illinois plays IUP, and we'll make sure to hit on this. Definitely not exactly what we were expecting for the entire game. I was kind of expecting it to linger around, be a little bit close at points in the first half, but I'm really excited for it to get back started. I know the NBA has been going on a little bit, and that's been kind of getting me my basketball fix a little bit, but I'm just a college guy at heart. Obviously, Major League Baseball is wrapping up with the Braves winning their World Series on, was that Tuesday night? And then obviously we've still got the NFL, but watching the Bears on a weekly basis is painful, to say the least. But your Cowboys are kind of kicking ass.
Cowboys are good. Cooper Rush taking down Kirk Cousins on Sunday Night Football. How about that?
Stephen A says they're the favorite in the NFC. Does that make you feel good or bad about their chances?
It makes me feel bad, and I don't really agree because I think the Rams are I think the Rams are really good. So
yeah, I do too. I think the Rams are going to be good for the next year, and then they're going to be absolutely terrible because I don't think they have a single draft pick in the first 3 rounds for the next 2-3 years. So good luck, Los Angeles, on building a franchise through free agency.
When you have a bit, I think Aaron Donald, the biggest defensive lineman, maybe not the biggest, but the combination of speed and power, he's a blast to watch. And speaking of big men that are a blast to watch, see how I tie this together? I think the big Illinois news of the week came from the NCAA, and there have been rumors about this for a while, but Kofi Cockburn's suspension for selling his officially licensed gear while he still had eligibility and before NIL was enacted. That suspension was put into place this week, and he will miss the first 3 games of the season. Alec, what was your initial reaction to this?
Oh, I can't wait for our opinions to be so unpopular on this, Sim. I honestly, I had no problem with it. Like you said, he broke a rule. You get punished for breaking rules in society. And I get that it's a stupid rule and the rule doesn't exist anymore. And the rule didn't exist about a month after he even broke the rule. But I don't necessarily mind it. I think if you're the NCAA, you kind of want to set some sort of precedent on the fact that if a player is going to break an NIL rule or a school is going to break an NIL rule, that they will be punished. We know that NIL is something that's going to be used by schools as a recruiting advantage and will probably be used as some sort of cheating ploy by certain schools across the country. And I imagine it already has been used in that way. So I think if you're the NCAA, you want to set some sort of precedent on the fact that if you cheat, you are going to be punished. So I don't have a problem with that. Now, 3 games, I don't know. There's not really a precedent on how long a suspension for this is supposed to be, right? Like Terrell Pryor got 6 games at Ohio State for the tattoo gate thing a long time ago. And that's obviously half of a college football season, but I feel like that's a totally different time. And I also feel like that was when it was completely unacceptable for that to happen in terms of the NCAA's eyes. And now it's one of those things where it's you messed up. What you did was stupid. You probably know what you did was stupid. It was inappropriate. It was irresponsible to do that. So we're just going to give you 3 games. That's fine with me. I think if you're an Illinois fan, it's frustrating that he's going to miss the Marquette game. And Marquette's still kind of a mystery in terms of what their roster looks like just because they have so many new players. But that's still a game that I think Illinois should probably be able to go up there and win without Kofi. And then you should be able to win the first 2 non-con games against Jackson State and Arkansas State without him as well. So,
yeah, I saw people I think were surprised, and people were obviously angry. I think people were surprised, and I don't know why anyone was surprised. This is the NCAA. You break an NCAA rule, that NCAA loves to shoot themselves in the foot and punish their best athletes for silly things like this. And I do think it's silly, but he broke a rule. So I don't think the 3 games surprised me. Don't know if I would call it fair, but it's better to get this out of the way now than when you have Michigan and Purdue back to back. This is honestly a fine time for it. I do think it stinks that, you want to have your full squad ready before you head to Kansas City for the game against Cincinnati and most likely Arkansas. Like I do think the rhythm could be thrown off a bit, but I didn't think it was that big a deal. He broke a rule, dumb rule, but he broke an NCAA rule. And I think he should have sold his gear. He knew there's a chance he was coming back. He knew that was against the rules. So I don't like, he's kind of at blame here. And maybe with people in his camp or whatever, I'm not saying it was solely his decision, but yeah, he broke a rule and now he's got to pay the price and it stinks. But like you said, I think Illinois should be fine and they should go 3-0.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things too, where like we've seen national people kind of bag on the NCAA for this decision to actually suspend him. I saw Jeff Goodman kind of tweeted something. Jay Billis, of course, tweeted something.
Oh, Jay Billis.
He's a big.
He just loves when the NCAA gets someone in trouble. It's wrong. It's wrong. Yeah, Jay. No one is like disagreeing with you. He's acting like this is a hot take.
Yes. We all hate the NCAA. Like no one actually likes the NCAA anymore. No one thinks that they do a good job of what they do outside of running and regulating the championships that they do. And even when they do that, they screw it up because they don't give the women's facilities that the men's groupings have. So, I think it's one of those things where it's really easy to get mad at the NCAA for everything. And it's really easy to just kind of put blame on the NCAA for everything. But with that being said, I do think that Kofi did deserve some sort of punishment for this situation. I don't think you just want to let him get off scot-free. If it would have been 2 games, I would have understood that as well. But I think the NCAA is smart enough to kind of look at Illinois' schedule and be like, well, if we only do those 2 games, I'm just be like, well, who cares? Like they're going to win both those games against 2 directional schools that are below 150 in the Ken Pom ratings to start the year. If we suspend them against Marquette, at least that's like a notable game on national TV, Fox Sports 1, Gavitt tip-off event. Like that's kind of enough reason in of itself to make sure you're on their straight and narrow with all of this stuff. I think we should transition this conversation more to what it means for Illinois and maybe what you're going to get out of those 3 games from Omar Payne at the 5, Coleman Hawkins at the 5, and if any serious foul trouble for the both of those 2 players, probably Benjamin Bosmans-Verdonk and even Brandon Lieb. So let's kind of dive into that. Omar Payne in the first 2 scrimmages was not impressive, to say the least. I think he played about 18 minutes. I think he only had 2 or 3 field goals total, 6 points. I think he only had 2 or 4 rebounds in the 2 games combined. He looked like he was thinking a lot and not necessarily just reacting to what was happening. I think that there's still kind of a getting used to process with him in terms of getting acclimated with everything that's going on, but you expect to see a little bit more out of him in those 2 games. And I think what you did, and honestly, I thought it was odd how he only played 18 minutes when you had to know that a suspension was coming for Kofi anyway. Like, even though you didn't know exactly what it was, it would have made more sense to me to play him a lot of minutes.
Yeah. I'm not trying to throw shade at Omar here, but I feel like the preseason hype for him got off the rails to a degree where everyone was acting like Illinois has like 2 All-American centers on their roster. And like we've talked about, Omar is a very talented.
He's raw.
He's
not raw.
He's elite. He's got an elite physical body for a center. Like he has.
Yeah, that's why I said he's kind of raw.
He has the unteachables. But what I saw from him in the Indiana-Pennsylvania game is kind of what I saw from him on film in Florida. He just, his motor just wasn't there and he wasn't impacting the game at a super high level. No. And that was my biggest concern coming in. And he only played 9 minutes against Indiana, Pennsylvania, but didn't record a block, was kind of, he went up for some blocks, but was kind of late on rotations. And like you said, maybe that's overreact, or maybe that's thinking too much, not just reacting. He had 1 rebound in 9 minutes, and it's not like Indiana, Pennsylvania was throwing out Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like he should have gotten more rebounds. So I was definitely concerned with his motor. Now, and I do agree with you, he should have played more. Now, maybe he sees this as an opportunity he's got 3 games to be the starting center. Coleman Hawkins might start at the 5. We can talk about him later. Coleman Hawkins might start, but my gut would tell me that it's going to be Omar Payne. So maybe he sees this now as he's got 3 games as a starting center with not really a super reliable traditional backup center option. And he can use this to show what he can do, an opportunity he hasn't had in his 2 years of college. So I'm hoping that'll inspire, and I'm hoping the film from this past week can get his motor turning the right way, but I was not encouraged by him.
No, and I don't think there was a lot of reason to be encouraged by it from reasons that you said and reasons that I said as well. Now, I think that if you're Illinois now and if you are Omar now, you kind of have this understanding of, okay, it's my thing and it's going to be on me for this to work and for us to play well in the front court with me being the leading guy there. So I do think that Omar does kind of understand now, or at least you'd like to think that he understands now, or better understands at least what his role is going to specifically be at the 5 at this position in the front court, where I think when you're backing up Kofi, you're kind of trying to come in and like make an impact, but also not make a mistake, because Kofi very rarely is going to make a mistake because he's one of the best bigs in the country. And if you're Omar, you're also just trying to like come in and not like screw anything up on either end, I think, at the same time, but you're also still trying to make a positive impact. So I think it's finding that positive balance. And now I think with him not having to worry about Kofi coming back in immediately once a mistake is made, or once Kofi's got his breather and he's ready to go, that I think Omar might be able to play a little bit more free and maybe not have to think as much. He'll just kind of naturally play. Now, I was really high on him before the year, and I think I had reasons to be high on him, but I think other people were like really, really high on him. And
it got off the rails a little bit.
It did. And I thought that he would be good, but I never thought that he would be, like Zach Edey would be at Purdue. Like, I didn't think Illinois' front court would be as good as Purdue's or Michigan's would be this year. I thought it could maybe be comparable to Michigan's, depending on how good Moussa Diabate is over there. But he needs to just play consistent in these 3 games. He needs to give Illinois a positive impact on each end of the court. You can't be a net equal, I don't think, to what you were in the 2 scrimmages. You're going to have to be better than that because you're playing against better competition. But for as uninspiring as Omar Payne was, Coleman Hawkins was incredibly inspiring at the 5 and at the 4. Sim, you've been on him for the longest time. You kind of got me on his hype train a little bit, especially after what he showed against IUP, minus the technical foul for whatever he said on the sidelines. But he played really well, and he's showing a skill set. He's playing with a good confidence, and that's something that we didn't necessarily see out of him last year.
Yeah, I'm glad he's playing well, like obviously for his sake and for the team's sake, but just so people don't think I'm a lunatic and like just hyping up some player that like it was never going to play. Like, it's good to get like, and this is 2 exhibition games. Like, I want to preface everything I say, and I think you feel the same way, that these are exhibition games and you can't just take everything. You can't take everything so literal, and you got to factor in the competition, but to at least see him be productive in an Illinois jersey made my heart warm. And yeah, he looked much better than Omar. And I think he's more traditionally a 4, but you look at him out there, I mean, he's clearly added the strength he needs. He might be just as tall as Omar, honestly. Like, they might be the
Coleman's
same.
6'10". Coleman's a legit 6'10".
He's tall out there. So they might legitimately be the same height. And in the IUP game, granted, he had 24 minutes, but he snagged 9 rebounds. He blocked a shot. I thought he was a more impactful defender. He's better guarding on the perimeter. Coleman looked great. And at the end of the day, you want him to be the 4 next to Kofi or Omar in an ideal world. But I think going into these 3 games without Kofi, I'm not sure how much Benjamin Bosmans Verdonk we're going to get. He only played 4 minutes in the exhibition, or Brandon Lieb. He only played 2 minutes in the IUP game. I think the 40 minutes at the 5 are going to come from Omar and Coleman.
Yeah. Okay. So I kind of want to ask you a question. If you're Brad Underwood, who do you start at the 5 in those 3 games? Or is it dependent on matchups?
I think you roll with Omar and Coleman, and then from there you try to stack. I would start Omar and Coleman just to get size.
So you would start them both?
Yeah, I would, just to get size out there on the court. And
so who would you start them with?
Assuming everyone's healthy, because I mean, the worst, like, we'll talk about Trent Frazier later, but he hurt his shoulder. Austin Hutchinson missed the game. DeMonte Williams also missed the game.
Yeah.
Assuming everyone's healthy, I would go Curbelo, Trent, Jake Grandison, and Coleman Hawkins.
So you think Coleman earned a starting spot at the 4 with the way he played against IUP?
Yeah, and I'm probably biased because I'm obsessed with the skill set, but I think
I
so.
agree with you. I
I
agree
think
with you.
I think having a more traditional power forward out there that has size and can offer rim protection and do more duties of a 4 than a DeMonte. And I think DeMonte is such a low key guy that he's not going to care if he comes off the bench.
I agree with you. I said to someone that I was sitting next to on Media Row when he was announced as a starter, when we knew DeMonte wasn't going to play, we knew Austin Hutcherson wasn't going to play, we knew that Coleman would likely be the one to start. I said to him before the game, I said, he may not come out of the starting lineup. And he had a really impressive stretch at one point in the game where I think he had a dunk, a block shot, or poked a ball away, had another bucket on the other end. And then I turned to him again and I said, he's not coming out. So I actually kind of agree with you. I think Coleman earned a starting spot. And that's weird to say that he earned it in those 2 games. And I don't think he earned it in those 2 games. I think he more so earned it in practice. But I do think Coleman's in line to start at the first game. I really do.
Yeah, I think he offers a more traditional 4, which is something that Illinois doesn't have. So with that being said, we'll see, because I think you need to stagger him and Omar for 40 minutes. You need one of them on the court at the same time. I think they clearly don't trust Benjamin Bossman Verdonk or Brandon Lieb, considering they played a combined 6 minutes against IUP. So that means, so we'll see. Maybe Brad just staggers them the whole night or plays them together very little, because without Kofi now, you lose that luxury of the front court depth. But Coleman Hawkins was more impactful than Omar and should be on the court more than Omar is, in my opinion.
Now, I don't want to just act like Coleman had a flawless game against IUP, because he didn't. He was 2 of 7 from 3, which is like obviously a pretty decent percentage, but he really hesitated to pull it. And at one point he was 1 of 6, I think, or 0 of 5. I think he was 0 of 5 and he made his 6th. He really hesitated to pull it. He needs to be more confident in himself to just pull that shot, even if it's not falling. He was confident against St. Francis in that first scrimmage. I think he was 2 of 3, which included a bank. It doesn't matter if you bank it, it just goes in. The more Coleman sees that ball go through the rim, especially from the perimeter jump shot, the better for his confidence and the better for Illinois. And if he's able to do that from the perimeter on a consistent basis, it doesn't even need to be at like a 33% or higher. If he shoots threes at 30% this year, that's going to be pretty good. That's going to be a pretty good weapon to have. So what did you kind of see out of Coleman, and why do you think he was maybe hesitant to pull it from deep? Because we've heard so much about how he put so much time into his shot this offseason.
Well, if you actually watched their defensive coverage of him, I think it almost took Coleman and the whole team back. Like they were letting him shoot, and I just don't think they expected that. Like a lot of their sets kind of end in you get the ball, the 4, which is Coleman, and you want him up top because they want him to go high-low to Kofi or Omar in the post, stealing a smaller defender.
Yeah.
You know, Coleman being 6'10" can see over the defense. And the defense was kind of like, okay, we're going to deny this pass. We're going to double the post and force you to shoot. I just think it threw him off. I know you ever like played pickup and someone just doesn't close out to you or like lets you shoot. Like it kind of throws you off. And I honestly think that's what he was going through. And because a lot of times, when they were running that set, like Coleman's getting with like 18 seconds left in the shot clock, 17 seconds left in the shot clock. And so he's not sure, like, should I keep running offense? Should I keep shooting it? And we'll see if Division I teams actually guard him that way. But I think he'll be more ready for it. I think he'll be more ready to shoot. But it definitely was weird to see him hesitate on shots because he knows he can shoot. We all know he can shoot. But that was definitely bizarre.
It was weird to see him do it because even last year on the few threes that he took, he never hesitated. He would just get it and he'd pull it. And that was the only time I've ever seen Coleman really hesitate at something on the court because he's such a heady player and he plays with so much IQ and he plays with so much understanding of where he's supposed to be and when he's supposed to be there. That was weird to see him not necessarily know what to do based off of what a team was doing against him. Like, if that makes sense, I don't know. Like, I think he was really good. I don't want to harp too much on him hesitating to shoot it. I think that's just a weird thing. Like you said, Brad called it. They were dorking him. That's what they kind of call it when teams just kind of say, here's an open shot, take it, good luck. So I had no problem with Coleman and the way he played. Again, if he shoots 2 of 7 every night from 3, and I don't think he's going to take that many threes most nights, I think that actually led the team. Yeah, it tied him with Plummer with threes and Grandison as well. So like he's not going to lead the team in threes. But Yeah, I thought he was good, and I think Illinois is in a good position to where if they end up wanting to just start Omar or Coleman at the 5, I think you're going to end up seeing it be Coleman against Jackson State. But if they end up starting the both of them, it'll just be interesting to see how Brad kind of alters the two of them and plays and tinkers with lineups, because then you're going to have to get Jacob Grandison at the 4. You're going to have to get DeMonte Williams at the 4. And against a team like Jackson State or Arkansas State, you're going to have a size advantage. You're going to have a strength advantage, and you can get away with doing that. And obviously we know Illinois can get away with doing that because they've done it for the last couple of years.
So what were your other big takeaways from Friday night's game?
Defense, and rather the lack of it. And I think the importance of Trent Frazier to this team and their ability to guard on the perimeter. We knew that we had questions about Andre Curbelo and what he could do defensively. We had the same questions about Alfonso Plummer defensively. Those two players just don't move as well. They don't react as well. They don't anticipate as well, which is something that I know you've started to really praise Trent for in his game recently on the defensive side, is his understanding of what is going to happen before it actually happens. They need to be better on perimeter defense and rotations and communication. And if you don't have Trent Frazier for whatever reason at any point this year, I would be concerned about guarding a team with a really good guard. Like if Trent, for whatever reason, wasn't able to play against Purdue, I would be terrified if I was an Illinois fan, because I don't know who would guard Jaden Ivey.
Yeah, I think that game should make Illinois fans really appreciate Trent Frazier and DeMonte Williams, who was also out.
Both of them, yes.
Those are the team's 2 best perimeter defenders, and Trent hurt his shoulder 4 minutes in. So we think he'll play opening night, but we haven't heard an update, so we don't know. So you really got to appreciate what those guys do defensively, because Curbelo and Plummer are awesome defenders, but man, they're tiny out there. They are not that big, and Trent's not that much taller, but he just guards way better. So losing Trent in that game meant that their on-ball defense and just stopping guys on the perimeter was not great. Like this guard, Shondell Jones,
was very good.
He put up 25 on 10 of 18 shooting. And this isn't like,
and he's bigger. He's like 6'3", 6'4", I think, but still.
But that's the kind of guy that Trent or DeMonte would take. And he only, I'm looking at his stats now. He only averaged 10 points a game last year. Like, this isn't like some D2 player who like could be like I'm not trying to disrespect him, like, but this isn't like the D2 leading scorer. This guy averaged 10 points a game last year. And
this isn't the D2 version of Max Amos.
Yes. He scored on them very easily. And that was super concerning. And I'm not blaming just the guards too. I think defensively, they were just a little slow, missing rotations. I didn't think they rebounded great, and you give teams more chances, even Indiana, Pennsylvania, like they're going to put up points. So the defensive end was definitely my biggest concern as well.
I mean, you make a good point about the rebounding. I mean, I looked up at the second half, and Illinois, I think, was losing the rebounding battle, and they only won it 40-33. And that's concerning. Like, you should be pounding a team like that on the glass. And I get it. IUP had good size, I guess, or bigger than I expected size, but like Kofi had 9 rebounds, 8 rebounds. Kofi had 8. Kofi, you got to have more rebounds than that. And he played 27 minutes, close to 28. Like, you got to have more rebounds than that.
Yeah, I felt like Kofi to me was kind of sleepwalking through the game.
That's how I felt. It looked like he didn't want to be there.
Like, I don't think he was in double figures until like middle through the second half. And then
something 21.
Something woke him up. I don't know if it was the Curbelo tech and the Coleman tech or the fact that the game was tightening up a bit. Something woke him up, and then he just like, okay, I am way bigger than you Indiana, Pennsylvania players, and I'm going to score on you every time. And I've never had a problem with his motor through 3 years. So like, I'm not like overly concerned, but it did take him a while to wake up.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I would say that. I said that to someone too. I think I texted you about that. I was like, looks like Kofi is just like not here. And that's just so weird to say, because we've never said that about Kofi in the last 2 years. Like, Kofi is always a huge energy piece for Illinois his freshman year and obviously a sophomore year, and always showed up. I mean, the only game I can think of him actually not showing up is his freshman year at Iowa, when Illinois went up there, and that was the Chin Coleman, Fran McCaffrey jawing back and forth at each other. And I just think he was overmatched by Luka Garza in that game. And I think he was like, whoa, like this guy's really good. And then we saw him regroup, and he outplayed Garza in that season finale, and he outplayed him twice last year too. So like, did he outplay him twice last year? He outplayed him. He outplayed him in the Big Ten tournament game.
Yeah. I don't remember well.
He outplayed him in Champaign.
He competed. He was neck and neck with the player.
Yeah, they were even. They were net equals. Okay, so whatever. Kofi was fine. Like he had a quiet 21. Like I looked up and I was like, oh, like you have 21 points? Oh, nice. That's a good game, I guess. And we're complaining about 21 and 8. Like he gives Illinois 21 and 8 every night in 27 minutes. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and I'll give him credit too. Free throw looked a lot better. He was 5 for 6 against IUP, 2 for 4 in the first game, but
he's not leaning forward. He's like not leaning into it like he did last year. It kind of looks like he was off balance last year. It looks more smooth, I would say. You're the shot mechanic guy. It looked better to you, right?
Yeah, I thought he looked more confident. It looked a lot better. 100%.
What other takeaways you have? Anything significant? I've got one.
The Curbelo, everyone like he might lead the country in assists this year. He had 12.
He might lead the country in turnovers too.
He might lead the country in assists
and turnovers.
Yeah, but it's gonna be like I think everyone was forgetting that like he actually had a 25% turnover rate last year. And like that's not good. That was in the bottom 150 of college players, which 150 doesn't seem like a lot. There's a lot of players in Division I college basketball. So now that he has now the offense is his, and he has a full workload. He is going to be an assist machine, but also a turnover machine. I think a lot of those times when he wants to make that pass, like that wow pass, it's not always going to be there. Teams have a year of film on him. They kind of know what he wants to do. So I think with Curbelo, we're in for an experience.
That's an interesting word you use there, an experience. I would agree with it though. I mean, like he had 12 assists, 10 turnovers. I think he had 15 turnovers or 17 turnovers. I think in the two exhibition games, I think he had 17 total. I could have to double check on that. I only have the one box score in front of me. But yeah, he needs to do a better job of making the right play on a consistent basis, the play that is smart and not always try and do too much. Because when he tries to do too much, he just makes boneheaded plays that you just are like, what are you doing? And he has the ability to make those plays because he's so crafty and he sees things that so few people see, but he's got to just remember to reel it in and not try and do too much and not let his emotions get the best of him, which we saw with the technical foul. And Brad Underwood was incredibly angry about that. But I don't know if it was playing in front of fans. I don't know if it was getting your rings, seeing the banner go up. I don't know what exactly it was, but he was not very good in either of the two exhibition games. And I don't want to say it's concerning, but it's not like inspiring, I guess. I don't know. Like you expect him to come out and look really good, and largely he was bad.
Yeah, I think he made some spectacular stuff happen, but the turnovers are a huge concern. And like, I think there's ways to limit it, but then you kind of limit some of what he does and some of the great plays he can make. So
I think he had 6 assists to 5 turnovers in the first game. So he essentially was a +3 in assist to turnover ratio in the 2 games. That's not very good.
No. Not
with his passing ability.
No. It's not great. And the other cause for concern I had is that in the IUP game, he only took 1 3 and he didn't make it. And then I'll pull up the St. Francis game wasn't as like intense and the defense wasn't as good, but
he had a couple made threes against St. Francis. I think he made 2.
He was 1 for 3. So 1 for 4 in 2 games. But just the fact that in the IUP game, he played 33 minutes and only took 1 3. That's a little concerning to me. Like his jumper's got to be better, and it just has to be more of a. He has to use it as a weapon, and the volume has to be up. Like I don't know if like he's gonna so concerned about his percentage that he's only going to take clean ones and pull an IO and finish at like 38% on like 82 attempts. But like as the lead ball handler, they need him to just take more. Like, I don't care. I'd rather have you be at 25% with way more attempts than 32, 33 with less attempts. Like you got to get shots up. And I was a little concerned that like he was a little unwilling to shoot.
Yeah, that's fair. That's another one. I also want to dive into the freshman real quick, and we don't need to take too much time up on this. Luke Goody's going to be a really good player. That kid understands the game, plays really hard, talks a lot, especially on the defensive end. He's kind of directing things. I was really impressed with his leadership. I think it was one point in the second half where he was the one who kind of called the huddle together and looked like he was doing most of the talking in the huddle. So that was good to see. I'm also really impressed with what RJ Melendez has done. He was the last scholarship player to come off the bench against St. Francis, and I think he was the second or third to come off the bench against IUP, and maybe the first freshman. His skill set's really impressive to me, Sim. He needs to develop physically, but skill-wise, I'm really impressed with what I've seen out of RJ Melendez in the 2 games.
Yeah, I get like my expectations long-term for him are really high, just based on what I've heard from around the program and just his body and his athleticism. So the fact that if he can do the little things right and carve a little bit of a role if guys are ever injured, like that would be good to see. Luke, like, he didn't have his best shooting night, but like you can tell that kid is a classic kid from Indiana, just shooter. You know, the state that just breeds shooters that somehow Indiana University hasn't recruited in years. But that's just the classic kid that from Indiana shoots hard. He plays hard. He had 4 rebounds. Like
he's physically there. I feel like
gets his body on the floor. Yeah, he's definitely the best freshman today, and he's the freshman that will play the most. And even with the deep rotation that Illinois has when healthy, I still think he'll be able to find a role because he can shoot and he plays hard, and it sounds like the staff likes him. So I was definitely impressed with him.
Do you think that he plays – Coleman averaged like 6.3 minutes a game last year. Do you think he plays that much or less this year?
It's a really good question.
I do too. I think it is too, because I think in a perfect world, you would like to play him that much.
I think it's probably around there. I just think the team is too deep.
I think it depends on the health of other guys.
Yeah, it depends
Austin
on the health.
Hutchinson, like, is he going to be healthy this year? Like, we already know he's dealing with that tailbone thing. Like, that's the guy who he would play or replace in the rotation if Hutch were to get hurt.
100%. So I'll say more banking on injuries, but if not, I think it'll be around there.
Okay.
And I'm not like losing a wing like Hutch, or let's say he had to come in for Hutch in the rotation. It's probably a drop off. I mean, I still haven't seen
athletically. It's a drop off.
It's a drop off, but I still think he can do a lot of the things that Hutch does and can make an impact in maybe a different way. And it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if Luke Goody had to be in your rotation.
No, I don't think so. Do we want to talk about Pods at all? I don't really have any major takeaways from him yet.
I guess what I'll tie Pods to is just the point guard depth on this team. And I think last year you had 3 guys that could run the offense: Curbelo, Io, and Trent, and like 3 guys that were already in your rotation. So you weren't like, when Io went down, you weren't like, oh, you weren't asking Curbelo to play 40 minutes because you had Trent there to run the offense. But now as we saw on Friday, when Trent went out, Curbelo was the only other point guard on the roster. And I do think Curbelo could play 40 minutes with no foul trouble if he needed to. I think it wouldn't be that concerned, but he'd definitely be tired. But so they put Pods in as the backup point guard, and he's just not ready to be a collegiate point guard right now.
Ball handling's not there.
It's just, I just don't think physically, athletically, and with the ball handling, he's just not ready to be there right now. So I think I'm a little concerned with the point guard depth on this team. And if Pods has to be the point guard in a big time game, I think it could be tough to score or initiate offense.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was at with Pods too. I just think it's going to take him a little bit more time to really kind of get into the flow of being a Division I Big Ten college basketball player. Like, of the 3 freshmen, like, he might be more physically developed than RJ is, right now, but I think that RJ is just more skilled. And I think that what we saw last year with Coleman, like Coleman wasn't physically there, but he was able to kind of make an impact in certain areas because he was so skilled. And I think we could kind of see RJ Melendez kind of do that in certain areas this year, maybe against a lower tier Big Ten opponent. So yeah, that's all I've really got.
Well,
Sim,
my last thing, going back to the point guard thing, is that I think that swapping out Alfonso Plummer for Adam Miller, I think Plummer, I think it's like a pretty fair trade. I think they do different things well. I mean, we'll see. It's tough.
it's hard to make that comparison because Adam's not going to play this year because he tore his ACL.
And he was in such a small role last year. But I do think the one that is a bummer that they lost Adam is that if they needed in a case of emergency point guard, I'd feel comfortable putting Adam in that position. And that's clearly not Plummer's game. He's clearly a 2-guard, and they'd go to Pods or Austin Hutcherson or someone before him, I think, or even DeMonte Williams to run the offense. I think that's like the one spot where they're not so similar is that I think Adam could run offense, and that's clearly not what they want Plummer doing.
I would throw defense in there as well.
Yeah.
And athleticism.
Okay, maybe we lost that trade.
I don't know. I mean, don't take this the wrong way, but Illinois technically won the trade, at least for the 1 year being, because Adam tore his ACL at LSU. Yeah. And that's awful to hear. And his surgery, I guess, went well. Will Wade said it went well this week. So that's good to hear. So good. Godspeed to Adam Miller. Hopefully you're able to get healthy and make an impact in a year from now, because you're one of my favorite players to watch, especially at Illinois. So Sim, let's kind of get out of here on that. But before we do, I kind of want to tease our upcoming episode. We're going to go through and give our Big Ten predictions. I don't know if we'll go 1 through 14, but
no, we talked about it with Robbie a little bit. So we'll kind of game plan and see maybe what teams we hit that we didn't hit on that episode that we want to talk about. We're going to give some hot takes, and this is going to get me to talk about a team that I'm actually super interested in the more I've researched them, Nebraska. Nebraska's in the top half of teams I actually want to watch this year in the Big Ten. I'm kind of excited for Nebraska. So we'll talk about random Big Ten notes like that.
Yeah, and it'll be fun. We've got some fun takes. I don't know if all of them are hot. I think some of them will be like, wait, what? And then we'll kind of explain them and be like, okay, maybe that's not too bad. So we'll have that out for you before Illinois tips off their season on Tuesday against Jackson State. And then if there's any breaking news, we'll make sure to have that on Inside the Arc as well. Thanks for listening, everyone, and enjoying your weekend.